Welcome to
Release Readiness Live.
It is important to watch Release Readiness Live so that you get a snippet of the coming attractions of the functionality that's coming from Salesforce.
We really focus on the features that are going to be most useful and impactful.
With Release Readiness Live, you get the great opportunity to actually hear it from the mouths of the people who spend a lot of time thinking about what exactly you all, as Salesforce developers and admins, are actually wanting to see.
Your feedback is so important. I think that's one of the most amazing things actually about the Salesforce ecosystem is how involved Trailblazers are with evolution of our products.
Is RRL about to start?
Let's get it started.
Welcome to Release Readiness Live from San Francisco. I'm Jillian Bruce, Director of Developer Marketing at Slack and a self-proclaimed Salesforce super nerd, which means I am so honored to bring Release Readiness Live to you because this is where we get nerdy and we cover the new product innovations coming your way in the next release. But before we get into my happy nerd zone, I need to remind you to only make purchasing decisions based on currently available features and functionality. Now, with that covered, I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for investing your time with us to learn what's coming in the Summer 24 release. And thank you for all the feedback you provide us. Your feedback is what helps our technology teams build solutions centered around your experience. We've got a great lineup of release readiness content for you. Today, we're kicking things off with our latest innovations for Salesforce developers with our developer preview. And then after that, we've got a short break, and we're right back here at 11 a.m. for CRM Analytics. Now, if you miss any portion of the shows this week, you can watch them on demand on Salesforce Plus. We are wrapping up Release Readiness Live tomorrow with Service Cloud and our admin preview. And you can add all of these individual sessions to your calendar, or you can just hang out here and join us for the next 2 days. Now, we're going to spend the next hour together with our developer advocates and our product managers in person here in the studio, who are going to be giving us live demos highlighting the top developer features coming in Summer 24. But it's not just about all of us here in the studio, it's about you. We want to answer your questions about all of these new features. So join us in the chat on Salesforce Plus. Yes, LinkedIn, I'm looking at you. Hop on over to Salesforce Plus and ask your questions right there in the chat, where we've got product experts standing by to give you answers. And we'll also be taking your questions for our product managers and our developer advocates live here in the studio. So without further ado, let's get started. First up, we have the amazing and return RRL guest, Mohit Srivastava, Director of Developer Marketing, here to show us what's new with Apex in Summer 24. Take it away, Mo.
Thanks, Jillian. Hello, everyone. Welcome to RRL. My name is Mohit. I'm a developer advocate here at Salesforce, and I'm excited to share all of the innovations that we have done in Apex for Summer 24 for all of you Apex developers, and also for all of you Apex developers now focusing on Data Cloud in Apex. With that, I have divided this into 2 segments, one focusing on platform features, and we'll also get into Data Cloud features as well. So first, Apex updates for platform. So I have consolidated these 3 features because I think these 3 features are going to have an impact on all of the code that you're building. So we're going to take a look at today the 5-level SOCL relationship query support that we have added. Now, this is going to make it very easy for all of you to efficiently query and manipulate complex data with relationships. Next, I'm going to show you some demos on formula eval class. So with this, you'll be able to construct and evaluate formulas dynamically at runtime. This is going to improve application flexibility. And then finally, one of my favorite features for this release, Apex cursors. So with this, we will be able to process these large SOCL query results into smaller batches within our single transaction. So I know you all love demos. So without further ado, let's hop on to our demo and see all of these in action. So first, I'm going to start by showing you an example code that I've built to showcase this formula evaluator. That's in beta. So I want to make sure that you know that these things are in beta. So make sure you try that as we bring these features into GA. So here I'm looking at an account here, And I have this field called rating, which depends on these two fields, territory and annual revenue. So based on the territory and the annual revenue, the rating field formula is calculated. Now, you might be tempted to build this in formula field. Nothing wrong with that, except that when your application grows, let's say you have hundreds of territories based on zip code, you will see that you'll slowly hit the formula limits. And that's why I'm excited that with Formula Evaluator class in Apex, all these kind of functionalities can be easily achieved. So let's look at this territory records that I have. So just for an example, I have two territories here, AMER and APAC. And you can see that now within a custom field called rating formula, I'm able to directly put my formula there right away in my records. And now I'll be able to apply these formulas directly using Apex. So let's see this in action. And before we see this in action, I also want to make sure that, for this particular trigger use case that I have, where I calculate this rating, there is also a custom metadata record here. I want to use this criteria formula as well. Now that we have this formula fields, I don't want to hard code this annual revenue into my code because, today the criteria says 10,000 revenue. Maybe, it changes to some other dollar amount in the future. So I want to give that flexibility to my admins so they can, keep these criterias and easily manage that. So I don't want to hard code them. So coming back to the demo, right? Let's take a look at this demo in action. So here I am on an account. And the rep here, is wondering, he's definitely not performed poor. He just realizes that, hey, he's just made a wrong selection of the territory. So he's going to change it to APAC here. And you can see that the rating field actually flipped to a better rating, right? So what just happened was the formula got applied. So let's see this, how I've built this trigger using the code. So here I am in that account trigger. So you can see that now I'm using this formula instance class. And this instance class uses builder pattern, as you can see. And I've been able to pass the criteria directly by querying that metadata that I just showed you. So here there is a simple query. I'm querying that metadata that has the criteria formula. So now my triggers are more dynamic in terms of the criteria here. And next, I want to apply that to the rating field here. So what I'm doing here is there is a method called getTerritoryFormulas. And you can see there is a map here that I'm building. Just like best practices, right? I want to write bulkified code here. So what I'm doing here is I'm using this territory rating formula instance for, and making sure that I have a map where I can store these instances. So here you can see that there is a map where I'm putting the territory ID and the formula instance. And again, the formula is stored on the record called rating formula on the territory object. So with that, I'm able to simply apply that formula, and then we are able to just use that before update trigger to update that. So this is, in a nutshell, the formula eval, and you can see how you can use it within your triggers. This is powerful, right? And of course, with power, I want to remind that with great power comes great responsibility. So make sure that you evaluate this formula, test it in the sandbox before you kind of apply this into production application. And also consider the governance, because you need to think about the governance here now that all these things are right away in your data as well. I also wanted to show another example of this formula evaluator. So lightning components, this lightning components, right, that you can use Apex. So here, what I want to show you is I've just put together a simple UI. Again, it uses that formula evaluator class. And using that, I can actually apply some formulas on my existing records. Like in this case, I'm just looking at a formula result which says that none of my contact records have the formula result as false. I mean, none of them have last name as blank. But let's check for the first name here. Let's flip the formula here, evaluate it, and you can see I have one record where the first name is missing, right? So you can see how powerful it is. Like you can apply these formulas directly to your set of records and then evaluate them directly in the runtime without having to create these fields on the database layer. Let's try something more complex here. It's not complex, right? It's easy, but let's say I want to concatenate this first name and the last name. And you can see that the formula works with text data type, return type. A little more complex, we can go here. This is more complex. And again, you it can evaluate. The thing that I wanted to show is I'm also reading all the fields here that I'm using in my formula in my Apex 2. And that is because, again, these formula evaluators provide me that capability. Another capability I want to show is if there is an error, our Apex is also returning that error as well. Let's try one with the date fields as well. So here I'm returning the age of the contact by the birth date, and just use integer here. And you can see it's evaluated the dates for all the contacts that had the birth date. So you see the power of these formulas. I mean, they give you this superpower to make your application flexible and dynamic. Next thing that I wanted to show you was cursors. So let's actually get into the code example right away. And I want to show you an example of how I have made use of this feature called cursors and added capabilities to Queuable to make it more powerful. So you all know Queuable classes, right? So with cursors, what I will be able to do is query the set of records and then paginate them either in the forward direction or in the backward direction and assign indexes to them and then process this. To show you here is a simple Queuable class, and this class again is a I've called it as cursor Queuable. And what I'm doing here in this class is using power of cursors. So you can see this system.database.getQuery where I'm collecting all the records. And what I want to show you here is, I'm able to use this cursor.fetch, which allows me to pass in the current location and the batch size. So I can break this large set of query records that I have into the batches that I want to work with, right? So with this feature, you will be able to process large chunk of records by breaking them into batches. So how about we go and execute this code and see this in action. Now to make it easier for all of you, what I've done is I'm creating some backend records called batch log. So we can see the jobs that are happening, the batch size, and also the chunking size that this cursors are going through. So to execute that, I'm going to open a simple file here called cursor Apex script that I've written. And how about we go and execute this? So this is executed. Let's go back to our org. And you can see that, if I try refreshing, you can see that there are jobs that are happening now real time. You can see that, so the script that I had here used as simple query, and then I set the batch size, and I'm able to just cursor through the records and process them. This is, again, powerful. It's going to make your async jobs more powerful. And I'm really looking forward to you to see how you're going to make use of this feature in all your async operations. The next feature that I wanted to demo here was the file-level SOCL support. And again, I have a code snippet to show you. So let's open this code snippet. So as you can see here, right, this is a nested query where I have accounts, and then I have assets, and then line items and work orders for them. So this is a nested query. So if you're working on use cases like field service, where you have multiple objects that are linked, we can easily make use of these file-level nested SOCLs. And this is going to make it very easy to retrieve records. Again, this is one of the features I would say that it makes it so powerful that you can query all these records. But then just also be mindful of how you're processing these records and how many records you're pulling when you're using nested level SOCLs. All right, so with that, I want to move back to the slide so we can cover some of the exciting features that we are bringing for all of you Apex developers who are working on Data Cloud. Now, you all know Data Cloud. Data Cloud is making every cloud better, and Apex developers, definitely you can make use of Data Cloud to solve some of the use cases that we have never been able to solve with Apex. Now, we want to make this easier for you. So there are two different features that I want to highlight here. First, the static SOCL in Apex for data model objects. So in Apex now, you have static SOCL support. So which means that when you are working with these data model objects, you can use SOCL just like how you are using for regular objects. So with that, you will get strongly typed results. It eliminates typecasting. Previously, you could use CDP query classes as well, and you can put your SOCL or SQL there, but it required for you to manually typecast, validate that query, and all of them was a lot of work. So we want to eliminate that work and make it super easy and streamline that developer experience that you are used to. And then you can now mock these SOCLs for Data Cloud so that you can test all these queries that you're writing within your Apex. So how about we actually jump to the demo and show this feature in action. So I have a simple class to show to you. It's called reservation controller. So I'm using this class to pull all the reservations that are there in the data cloud for a particular contact in Salesforce. So I can just run the query. You can see that I'm able to now just use SOQL directly on these DLM objects directly, just like how we are used to on the platform. So here I'm actually looking for a table called unified link SSOT individual CCID table. So all of you working on Data Cloud, you know that this is the table where you sort of unify all your records. So now I'm able to query that table just like as its normal platform queries. And then you can see that I'm able to now easily pull the reservations. Finally, I wanted to show the feature where we're going to make it very easier for you to test all of these with the mocking service that we are giving here. And here is an example where I've written a test code for this reservation controller. So here you can see that now you can have a stub provider, and we can implement a stub provider using this SOQL stub provider interface. So all we need to do is extend this interface, and there is a method that you need to override called handle SOQL query results. So here I can mock out all the queries. So you can see that the query that I have on this object CCID DLM, I'm able to mock it out. Even for the reservation object, I'm able to mock out the results. And if you go here, you can see that I'm able to stub all of these and then test my code. Let's just run it quickly to show you how it can run. And you can see it's all happening real time. It just passed, and it was instantaneous because now we are working with the mock records. So I hope with all of these innovation, it's going to make it easier for you to work with Apex, and it's going to make your applications powerful. What do you think, Jillian, about all these features?
I mean, there's a lot of Apex improvements. That's really, really powerful. I'm personally very excited about the formula evaluator. I think that that's very cool to see that. A great way to work with your data right there in Salesforce. Right. So great job. Thanks for sharing all that with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, as a reminder for all of you tuning in, both on LinkedIn and on Salesforce Plus, please ask your questions. So we have experts standing by right in the Salesforce Plus chat, and we are going to be taking your questions live here for Mo. Yeah. Okay, so Mo, we are going to go ahead and start with the questions because you're in the hot seat.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, all right. First question we've got is, let's talk a little bit more about that formula evaluation. What are some more use cases?
Yeah, I know it's hard to find use cases, but I'm gonna show you share some couple of examples that I have myself faced. One is criteria-based sharing rules. So you know that there is a limit, like 100 criteria-based sharing rules that you can have on Salesforce. With this, there is no limit. It's like, okay, you can have a bunch of accounts. You can put your sharing rules in the form of formulas directly on these records, so it becomes unlimited. So it's gonna make it very easier to process. Similarly, if you're working with like price book entry or CPQ use cases where you can, you have different rules for different products, right? That security management, again, you can put transaction security policies. You can configure all these rules in Apex. So these are all some of the use cases that I can think of.
I love it. Really opening up a lot of new ways to kind of work with and evaluate data.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey. Okay, we're going to keep going. We've got a question from Chris on Salesforce Plus. The question is, compiled formula fields have a character limit. Is there a character limit on the formulas evaluated in Apex as well?
Yes, there is a limit, but I hope that you'll not run into these limits because you can break them down in the form of records, and also think about how you can break them into micro formulas. Let's call it micro formulas. Maybe I invented it.
I like that. I like formulas and micro formulas.
Yes.
Okay, I love that. Okay, well, we've got more questions. So. Next question, we're going to go into talking about SOQL because you showed some very cool SOQL innovations. Can we mock regular SOQL queries like you were able to mock SOQL against DM?
I wish we could. Data Cloud developers, you are lucky you get that feature. But hopefully, we are, in the future, we'll have something like that. So, but we'll put as a request for the product team, so they are aware of this, and hopefully they provide something like this. I mean, there is a stub provider today that you can use. It's a little more challenging to work with it, but we can make it better, of course. So great feature request.
Sounds like a good thing to put on the Idea Exchange.
Yes, it is.
Shout out for the Idea Exchange. By the way, if you don't know what the Idea Exchange is, it's a way that our product teams actually directly get feedback from you about the features you want to see in the product, and they use it when they're planning what they're going to build each release. So if you haven't checked it out, go to the Idea Exchange. Okay, another question for you, Mo. Cursors are great. Can you explain what use cases you would use cursors for versus using Batch Apex?
That's really an awesome question, actually. I mean, Batch Apex also breaks records into batches, right? So the thing with Batch Apex is, if you've worked with Batch Apex, they have a limit, like 2,000 rows is the maximum batch size that you can have. And a lot of our customers have, more than that set of records. And they can process that within the transaction limit that we provide. So that, I think cursors are great because for those use cases, right, where you can, let's say, process 5,000 records now, within that transaction, maybe I'll use cursors now. In general, batch processes are good for like long processing. Cursors are going to be effective if you want to get your job quickly done.
I like it. Different scope, different types of projects. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another question. This question is from Anna on Salesforce Plus. Will the formula evaluator be included directly in the flows or for formula fields?
That's a great question. I think I will need to tap into the Flow product manager to get idea on that. But as a workaround, you can always write Apex, little bit of Apex, and put it as a part of the flow. You can use Apex, write invocable methods, put your formula there, then expose it into your flow as well.
Okay, I like that. Well, we had Flow Release Readiness Live yesterday, and we definitely have those experts standing by. So in the Trailblazer community, if you still haven't gotten that question answered, ask it over in there, and we'll get an expert answer for you. Mo, thank you so much. You are not done being in the hot seat, but you're moving to a less hot seat because we have another presentation to get to. There's more great stuff coming for developers. Next up, we have the incredible Danielle Larehi, Senior Developer Advocate, here to give us the latest innovations from Data Cloud. Take it away, Danielle.
Hello, Salesforce developers. My name is Danielle Larehi, and I'm a Senior Developer Advocate here at Salesforce, focusing on the Data Cloud platform. I'm really excited about the Summer 24 release and all of the new innovations that are coming out to Data Cloud. So speaking of those innovations, I'm going to give you my top 5 favorite things. As you know, our releases have a lot of innovation, so it was really hard to choose these 5, but I'm really excited about each one of these. So the first one is the ability to connect Data Cloud to Heroku natively and get data from a Heroku PostgreSQL database. As you know, Heroku is a platform to build apps, websites, and a lot of data is fed through Heroku, and that data will now be even more powerful with the Data Cloud connector. We also have some new enhancements coming out for CRM enrichments. The first one in the form of copy field enrichments. Previously, you could only use copy fields with the contact and lead objects, but now we have expanded support for multiple Salesforce standard objects, as well as a variety of Salesforce custom objects. And for CRM enrichment related lists, we previously only had support for the contact and lead object, but now we have more support by expanding that functionality to the account standard object. For all my developers, we know that you love working with APIs. We have a new API that is available with data graphs that I'm going to demo today that's going to be much faster and have a lot more performance in it than just using the Connect APIs and the Query APIs for pulling data out of Data Cloud. And then we have second generation packaging, which is now currently available for ISV partners, which is going to make packaging data kits and sharing all of the cool things that you're building in Data Cloud or on top of the Data Cloud platform more shareable and more available to be able to publish the things like App Exchange, as well as version control and source control. So a lot of amazing updates that our product managers have released coming out with the Data Cloud updates. So let's first get started with Heroku. So as I previously mentioned, Heroku is a platform for building your own applications, web apps, mobile apps, and a lot of data, as you can imagine, is being fed through all of these applications as users are using them. So there's a lot of behavior analytics, views, and all of that data can be captured in Heroku's very own Postgres database. Well, with the new native connector to Data Cloud, all those interactions are now available to be ingested into Data Cloud's data lake so that you can start using Data Cloud's functionality like activations, reporting, and segmentation, and all of the functionality that can plug into Data Cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and demo that for you right now. So let's get into the demo. So here I am in Heroku, and I'm in my PostgreSQL database. You can see here to the right that I have a few tables already that are already collecting some information into my PostgreSQL database. So I have a table here for guests, a table here for metrics, as well as a table here for systems. And here I am in now Data Cloud setup. So I already have my connector configured so that I can get in data from Heroku into my Data Cloud org. I'm going to click into this Heroku connector, and you'll see that this is as easy as just doing a little bit of configuration. So all I need to do is put in the username and password for my Heroku user. I just need to put in my connection URL as well as my database name, and just as easy as that, it makes the connection between Data Cloud and Heroku so I can start ingesting data into my data lake from Heroku. Now, speaking of ingesting data into my data lake from Heroku, the way that we get in data from our external systems into Data Cloud is via something called data streams. So here I am on my data streams tab, and what I'm going to go and do is click this new button. And here you'll see that I have a new Heroku PostgreSQL tab right here. I'm going to select this tab. This means that this is now available as a source system to ingest data from. And I'm going to click Next. And then I'm going to choose my schema where I set up my tables. And right here you see I have my guest table, my metrics table, and my systems table, which were in Heroku. I'm just going to select one of these tables and click Next. And from this screen, I can set my primary key, and I can set the fields that I want to ingest. So all this data can easily come in from Heroku into Data Cloud. And that is so powerful because all of that data that's stored in just with a little bit of configuration is now available for all of my activations in Data Cloud. All right, now let's look at our next innovation that also came out as of the Summer 24 release. So copy field enrichments. Now I love copy field enrichments because I used to get a lot of questions when I used to go to user groups and speak about how can I get my data to copy back into Salesforce CRM? Well, enrichments is a really, really easy way to copy data from Data Cloud's data lake over into your Salesforce CRM. It's all configurable and very, very easy to set up. You can copy over fields on data model objects as well as calculate insights that you build in Data Cloud, and all of these can be displayed on a field on now multiple Salesforce standard and multiple Salesforce custom objects. And it even keeps it synced for you throughout the day so that you don't have to worry about data being, not refreshed or out of date. Now let's go into the demo to see how this works. So here I am in my Data Cloud org, and previously you might remember when you would access enrichments, you would have to go to the contact or lead setup. Well, now this has all been moved over to a centralized area in setup. So I'm going to go into my Salesforce setup, and then I'm going to type in enrichments here. And I'm going to select copy field. And this is where I will configure all of my enrichments for Data Cloud to pull over the data from Data Cloud's data lake and data model objects over into a CRM object. So I already have a couple of enrichments configured here for the account and contact objects. I'm going to click at the top. And you can see here that I have the ability to copy over my open cases field on my data model object as well as my last modified date and display those on the account. I can see some details about the data source object that's configured, and I can even see some details about the sync history so I know how recent the data is that's coming over into Salesforce from Data Cloud. Now this is super powerful because once again, it's just configuration. You can easily pull this over. Previously, you had to use the Connect API and some queries, and it just made it a little bit more difficult, but with enrichments, this makes it easy to do in as little as 5 minutes with configuration. All right. Now that you've seen that, let's look at our next innovation that's coming out for the Summer 24 release. So continuing with enrichments, we now have related list enrichments, which were previously also only available on the contact and lead object. But we know that for Salesforce, one of the main objects that people are working in is usually accounts. And so we have now expanded this functionality to be available on the account object. So let's go into the demo and see how I can display these related lists on an account. So here I am in my Data Cloud setup, and you can see here that I'm on an account, or excuse me, I'm actually in Salesforce setup, and I'm on an account on the object, and I have a Data Cloud related list right here selected, and I was able to bring over cases from an external system and have those displayed on an account. Again, just all configuration. It's really, really powerful for either a developer or an admin and to copy this over. And it's going to enable you to display multiple related objects and multiple related data model objects on an account. It's going to be very, very powerful, and I know developers will really, really enjoy working with this. All right, now that we've seen that, let's look at our next enhancement. So our next enhancement is with the Data Graphs and Data Graphs API. So with the new Data Graphs API, you now have the ability to create a data graph, which allows you to create relationships between multiple data model objects. And then you can use the API to query for a particular object as well as its related objects and records from those related objects. Let's get into the demo to see how this works. All right, so here I am in my data graph, and you can see that I have my primary data model object, which is my individual object, and you can see that I have a couple of related data model objects, the contact point address, contact point email, and contact point phone. I'm going to go ahead and just click preview so you can see the JSON structure of the data and how it's structured on the back end. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use this data graph that I built to query an individual and pull back its related contact point address, contact point email, and contact point phone records. So in order to do that, I'm going to use Postman. And the first thing that I need to do is do an authorization from Postman to the Salesforce hub that is hosting my Data Cloud org. So I'm going to go up here and perform my first authorization request. I'm just going to click send. And what this is going to do, it's going to use OAuth to feed me back a token. And then I need to perform a second authorization to the tenant-specific URL where my Data Cloud is hosted. So in order to do that, I'm going to do another post request to my endpoint. And what that's going to do is it's going to exchange my previous token for a new token. And after that, I am all authenticated so that then I can actually use that data graph that I just showed you to pull back a single record. So I'm going to feed this a single record ID, and what it's going to do is it's going to query the individual, and then it's going to return me the associated contact point, email, address, and phone number for that individual. Let's go ahead and see how this works. All right, and just as quickly as that, I now have back my record as well as all of the related records using the Data Graph API. Really, really cool. This is going to be way more powerful than using the Connect API to query records. It's going to be a lot easier to be able to query a primary record as well as the associated records. So really, really excited about this Data Graph API that just came out as of the summer 24 release. Now let's look at the final thing that just came out. So we previously had first generation packaging, and some people might not have been aware that you could already package up data lake objects, data models, and different metadata that you built inside of your Data Cloud org. We now have second generation packaging, which is available currently only for ISVs, but we will be expanding this soon so that everyone can use second generation packaging. This is going to be a lot faster and a lot easier to be able to package up all of the cool things that you're building in Data Cloud. You'll be able to share these packages easily, and you'll even be able to use them with source code control like Git as well as Scratch orgs to further integrate with the DevOps process right now for developing. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how one of these packages look like and how they work. So here I am in my code editor, and what I already have done is created a data packaging kit. It already consists of multiple source objects. I have some data model objects in here. I even have some calculated insights packaged up. And now what I can do with this is I can share this to multiple Scratch orgs. I could share this to multiple Salesforce orgs. I could publish this on Git, and I could even publish this up on AppExchange if I wanted to. So really, really amazing things for developers to be able to share all the cool things that they're building. And I'm really, really excited about everything that came out in the summer 24 release. I hope that you are too. Jillian, What about you? Does this look cool?
I mean, this is like a data cloud palooza. There are so many amazing things happening. Come on over here because we want to talk more about it. I know we've got a lot of questions coming in the chat, but Danielle, you showed so many things. I mean, I know we've been talking nonstop about AI, but it's really like data is behind the AI. And so data cloud is so, so important. I mean, you showed a lot. Thank you. But we got a lot of questions for you. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started because now you're in the hot seat. You ready?
Yes.
Ready? Mo, you can take a little break. So.
He's in the warm seat.
Yeah. Well, he warmed this one up for you even hotter. Okay, so let's keep talking about data kits. What are the differences between first and second generation packaging?
Yes, that is a great question. So with first generation packaging, you previously couldn't use it with a Scratch org. With second generation packaging, you can now package up all your data models, data kits, and push it to a Scratch org. You can retrieve it from Scratch orgs and promote it to other orgs now.
Okay. Yeah. Again, the theme I think of all the things you showed was just like it's making it so much easier to connect to your data without having to kind of go the API route. Really kind of building that right into the platform, which is really nice.
Yeah, and this is going to make it for everyone that's been asking me about sandboxes and data cloud sandboxes.
That's actually the next question on here.
I beat you to it. That is going to make it easier also to promote changes to data cloud sandboxes when it comes out as well.
Okay, yeah, that was Eddie's question from Salesforce Plus. Eddie, she already knew that you had that question. It was, when can we use data cloud in a sandbox? So there you go. Excellent. Okay, more questions for you. Okay. Unless you're going to predict the questions. I mean,
right? I'm doing a good job.
You are. Okay, the next question is, can data ingested from Heroku be copied over to data lake objects and be mapped to data model objects?
Yes, that's a great question. So similarly to how you can map any data that's coming in from any other data stream, you can also map the data that's coming in via Heroku as well to data lake objects, data model objects, and you can use it with all of the functionality that's available in Data Cloud, like segmentations, reports, activations. It's really going to open up the possibilities for Heroku in terms of being able to use the Data Cloud platform's activations with it.
I mean, we are all one happy family, right? So it's nice that Heroku is more closely embedded with their core platform there. Okay, we have another question for you. This is a question from Salesforce Plus. This is from Kenneth. Are any new zero-copy sources available for Data Cloud? Looking to use Azure Data Lake.
Oh, that's a great question. So currently for zero copy, we have integrations with Snowflake, and we currently have one with Google BigQuery. Redshift is coming soon, and I believe Databricks as well is on the roadmap for what's coming. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like Kenneth. Stay tuned. There's more. There's more coming. There's more coming. Okay. Another question for you, Danielle. What's the difference between copy field enrichments and related list enrichments? I mean, we saw them on the screen, but talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So copy field enrichments allows you to copy over a field that's not a data model object. So similar to how in Salesforce you have standard and custom objects, and Data Cloud you also have standard and custom data models. And then on each of those data models are fields. So you can, with copy field enrichments, you can copy over the actual values that are in a field on the data model object over to a Salesforce standard or custom object field. Whereas with related lists, you're copying over records just like how related lists in Salesforce are records on the primary object. So you'd be copying over a table of records.
I got that. I mean, it's taking me back to kind of that analogy of like a record is basically, you know, the rows and the columns of the spreadsheet. It's a row of the spreadsheet versus just what's in that individual column, which is the field. So, okay, I like this. Helping me, giving me context too. Okay, great. We have one more question for you, Danielle, before we move on, because guess what? There's more. Okay, this is a question from Vanch on Salesforce Plus. Can we pull multiple custom objects and show it on Data Graph at the same time?
Yes, yes. So data graphs will be available to work with both standard and custom data models, and you will be able to pull in multiple nested data model objects related to a primary data model object. Similarly to how we showed with individual being the primary and contact point email, phone, and address. Those are 3 separate data models that are all related to the individual. So yes, you will be able to do it with nested and multiple nested objects.
I love that. Well, thank you. Thanks for handling the hot seat. You're not done yet, but you're going to stay on the warm couch, okay? Because we got more to cover. Thank you so much, Danielle. As a reminder, keep asking your questions in the chat on Salesforce Plus, because we've got more great innovations coming your way. Next up, we've got Luke Levasser, product manager, here to show us the latest and greatest with Einstein 1. Take it away, Luke.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jillian. Hi, everyone. I'm Luke Lavasser. I'm a product manager on our AI cloud products. And I'm really excited to show you what's new with the Einstein generative AI platform today for devs. To kick things off, I want to touch on a few features at the Einstein 1 platform model agility layer. To start off with, we've heard your requests for a new set of composable APIs for use in your applications to interface directly with the Einstein Trust Layer. This is why we're exposing our Models API to you all via Apex and REST in the summer timeframe. Additionally, we've heard you asking to use additional models hosted on different model infrastructures. We're now exposing models hosted on Bedrock and Vertex, such as Anthropic Claude and Google Gemini in the summer release. And on top of all of that, we know that good AI is powered by strong data. That's why we're enabling you to use Data Cloud's vector database for semantic search on your enterprise unstructured data via Apex and retrievers in the summer release. So let's take a look at the Models API in action. Navigating to the Apex classes page in setup, I first want to show you where this all lives. The new Models API class and child classes here are what we're going to build on top of for the remainder of this demo. Now let's take a look at the 4 new endpoints we've exposed. The first is the Create Generations endpoint from the Models API. This endpoint takes a prompt, a set of model parameters, and a model name, and generates a single-shot response to that prompt, which you can then compose in Apex or REST use cases in your applications. The Embeddings endpoint again takes a model name and a string of text and generates a vector representation of that text for semantic comparison use cases in your apps. Register feedback is your way to provide human-generated feedback for a given LLM response. It takes a chat generation ID, human-generated feedback, as well as a sentiment, and then it stores this via the Model API to Data Cloud. The last endpoint, which I'm super excited to introduce, is the Chat Generations endpoint. This is a conversational endpoint, so it takes actually a history of conversational messages sent between an LLM and a user and provides contextually relevant output from the LLM based on that historical context. Now let's go take a look at what we can do with chat generations in our org. So navigating to our seller home, I can see in the bottom right corner of the utility bar, I now have an AI chat app that I've built with Models API here. So what I've just done is I've pasted in a very long meeting transcript to the AI chat app, and I've asked it to summarize the meeting. So while the AI chatbot thinks or upvotes idea on Idea Exchange, shout out Idea Exchange once again, what's happening behind the scenes is we're sending this transcript off to the LLM, and the LLM is generating that summary. So this is great, but I really want to know what are the action items. So let's ask our chatbot right here. And you'll notice what are the action items doesn't mean much without the context of the previous messages, right? This is where that conversational history that's enabled by the Chat Generations API really comes into play. So here, the chatbot is able to respond with the 2 action items based on the previous messages from this conversation, enabling you to have these conversational, contextually relevant experiences with your LLMs. Now let's go back to the slides and see what's new in Prompt Builder. So in Prompt Builder, we have a host of new features to introduce to you all following our GA in February. The first that I want to call out is that we've heard your complaints that the error messages that we're surfacing in Prompt Builder aren't the most helpful. So we've improved these error messages, surfacing relevant context to you about why an LLM response may have failed. We're also enabling you to use free text inputs in prompts as grounding resources. This lets your users define at runtime the text that they want to ground their prompts on. Record snapshot grounding automatically grounds your prompts in the most relevant fields from the user's page layout. Large text inputs ensures that those pesky errors related to overflowing a context window for a given model won't bother you anymore. And last but not least, structured outputs ensures that when you request JSON from an LLM, you'll get a response in that format. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of these in Prompt Builder now. So here I am in Prompt Builder, and I'm going to open up the Summarize Open Cases prompt. The first thing I want to show you all here is the model selector in this right-hand panel. It's not there quite yet because this is coming in June, but here you will soon see standard models for Anthropic and Gemini in the June timeframe. Today, we're just working against OpenAI models. In this prompt, we're asking the LLM to roleplay as a support representative summarizing a set of open cases for an account. You'll notice also in the prompt, we're asking for a specific format, right? This prompt is asking for paragraph formatted summaries per case. But what if a different support agent wants bullet point formatted summaries? Historically, we may have had to use 2 different prompt versions or 2 different prompt templates entirely to reflect those different formatting needs. Now, however, with the ability to provide free text into a prompt as a merge field, we can do this in real time at runtime. So you'll see here, we've specified the format as a merge field, which we've inserted via this menu in the resource picker, right? And then we're actually able to specify what we want that format's value to be in Prompt Builder right here. So when we preview this prompt with the format specified of bullet points against the Edge Communications account, we'll see that the response back from the LLM is returned to us in bullet points. And a different user would be able to type in paragraphs or any other format in runtime in their application experiences. So that wraps up my demo for today. Jillian, really excited to hear what you think of all these new endpoints.
I mean, I love that you can actually tell basically that, the chatbot, hey, I want it in this format. And you can now, that's a merge field instead of, like you said, having to build multiple prompts before, multiple prompt templates before.
Yeah, there's so much new flexibility with all this new functionality. We're really excited to put it into your hands and to see what use cases you act on, you go and build.
Yeah, well, thank you, Luke, for all that. And welcome to the hot seat.
Woo,
it's been warmed up twice now. So we got a lot of questions for you.
All right.
As a reminder for all of you tuning in, please ask your questions right here in the Salesforce Plus chat. We've got experts standing by both in the chat and then also right here in person. So let's get going with some of those questions. The first question I have for you, Luke, is which models can I use with the Models API endpoints?
Sure, yeah. So the Models API endpoints are compatible with any model you've configured in Model Builder. These today are OpenAI models. They can be hosted on OpenAI infrastructure or Azure infrastructure. And then in the summer timeframe, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be opening that up to Anthropic and Vertex models. Sorry, not Bedrock and Vertex models.
That's right. Again, also reminder, forward-looking statement to all of these things. They're in the works, but we love some roadmap insights. Yeah. Okay, we have a question here from Salesforce Plus for you, Luke. How does Einstein AI ensure data privacy and security? Aren't we using company data to train the AI model? It's about trust.
Ooh, yep, awesome. That's a great question, and that's something that we hear a lot. First thing I'll say is no, we're not using company data to train the AI model. There are some roadmap items that we're looking to for that you can opt into around fine-tuning your model. But we have an entire Einstein trust layer built out that the Models API sits on top of that ensure that company privacy is respected, right? So a couple of features I'll call out in the trust layer are secure data retrieval. So when we retrieve any field values from the Salesforce org, we're retrieving those with the executing user's context so that if the user doesn't have access to a field, they won't be able to read that or send that to the AI model. Additionally, we have zero data retention agreements with all of our model providers, right? So whether these models are hosted on OpenAI or on Azure or on Anthropic and Gemini coming soon, none of the data that is included in a prompt is stored and used to train those models. And then, yeah, again, so we're sending the majority of this data via the prompt as grounding data, right? And none of that data is being stored by the model, so you can rest easy that the Einstein trust layer has you taken care of. Your company data privacy is being respected.
Yeah, as we like to say at Salesforce, your data is not our product, right?
Absolutely.
So excellent. Thank you for explaining that a little bit more. Also want to give we're getting some love and some shout outs from the amazing viewers that are on. First of all, apparently we have attendees from Calgary, from Mumbai, from New York and Wisconsin, all around the world. So thank you all for tuning in. And Anna's very excited about all the new features and looking forward to using them. So thanks, Anna. We're excited to see what you do with them as well. All right, Luke, coming back to you. We've got some more questions. Where can I find the context window limit?
Sure, yeah. So the best place to look for that is in the help documentation. That varies model to model, right? With a few of our models also, we have it in the model name, the Salesforce standard models, I'll say. But yeah, it's, again, a function of the model that you choose to use with the Models API or with any of our other Gen AI functionality.
Excellent. Thank you for answering that. Okay, so this is actually something I was really interested in. Seeing that in the demo was really great, about using page layouts for grounding. So whose page layout is really used for that record layout grounding?
Yeah, so we recognize that different users have different page layouts, right? And the relevant fields are going to be on a specific user's page layout. So when we're looking at this record snapshot grounding functionality, we're actually going to pull in the executing user's page layout. So a prompt might be grounded on different data for an account executive versus a service agent looking at the same account record because they have different fields on their page layout.
That makes sense. Well, and then you tie in kind of the trust layer of it all and making sure people are only seeing and getting access to the data that they're granted using existing permissions in Salesforce.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, it all builds on top of itself.
That's great. Well, everything's built on trust here at Salesforce. So, Luke, thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to have plenty more questions for you, so don't get too comfortable. But we do have plenty more to get to. In fact, we've got a whole nother section to get to for all of the amazing innovations coming for developers this release. So last but not least, we have the amazing Angela Lee, Director of Product Management, here to show you how you can customize Einstein Copilot. Take it away, Angela.
Thanks, Jillian. Hi, developers. My name is Angela Lee, and I'm a PM on the Einstein Copilot team. Since our announcement of our GA last month, Copilot has really taken off, and I cannot wait to share with you the new features that we have coming this summer. First up, we have ScratchOrg support. We know that developers are already really familiar with ScratchOrgs, so we want to make sure that you can build and test your new Copilot features in your ScratchOrgs. Developers can now build and test new configurations without disrupting their users or active copilots. And once you feel that your changes and customizations are perfect, they can easily be deployed with a quick push to production. One of the most powerful things about Einstein Copilot is the ability to customize it for your organization's specific needs. And that's why we wanted to give even more control over to our developers by having our new metadata API. With this new API, you can go and see the metadata behind your custom actions and really understand what's powering them and make changes at that metadata level. And then once you're ready, you can deploy it across all of your environments. Now, this next feature might seem really minor, but it is a really big context switch for Copilot. With page context support, we can now have Copilot automatically understand the context of the page that a user is on, and it will be able to ground their response on that page context without having to ask clarifying questions or disambiguation before it provides a response. And for developers, this is really important because this means that you're going to get that page context understanding built into your custom actions. This means that your actions are going to become even more accurate. And finally, I am so excited to announce the beta of our newest feature, standard and custom topic support. We know that copilots are most powerful when they are specifically solving a use case or a job to be done. And now topics can help you do that. With topic support, your users are going to unlock even more productivity because topics will help them solve their specific use cases. All right, that was a lot of talking, and we know a demo is worth 1,000 words. So let's go to our demo. So I'm here in VS Code, and this is where we want to bring in our ScratchOrg. So you would normally go about bringing in your ScratchOrg the way you normally would, but now here's the new definition file so you can bring in Einstein Copilot features. Just make sure that your edition is set to Einstein and that you're also going to bring in Copilot, and then you're going to be good to go. So now that we have our ScratchOrgs ready and up and running, let's take a look behind the hood and look at our metadata. So I already ran a function that will bring in the metadata for all of Copilot. And as you can see here, we have metadata that covers our planner service, which is the orchestration framework for Copilot. And then you see all of these different functions. And the ones that are named Employee Copilot represent the standard out-of-the-box actions that are built by Salesforce. As I keep scrolling down, I see a couple additional functions that are named differently. And those actually represent the custom actions that are related to this particular Copilot. So I have a question about this tracker update capacity, so I want to take a look more closely at that metadata. And so I'm going to run this Gen AI function to grab the metadata for that custom action. And as that runs, just in case it was going a little slow and we don't have a ton of time, I already ran this earlier, and here's the metadata that is behind that custom action. All right, it ran. All right, so as I can see, this is a custom action that was built in our field service app to understand capacity, which is super important in the field service use case. I know that it's targeting a flow, and here's the description, which is actually just says test. But we know that descriptions are super important for Copilot to understand which actions to use, so I'm going to update the name of that description. And once I'm done with my changes, I can quickly right-click and then deploy this to our orgs, and that will be available across all of our different environments. All right, let's switch contexts and get an understanding of how page context support works. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this query that says summarize this account. And before we had page context support, what Copilot would do is actually come back to us and say, did you need account Acme partners or opportunity-related partners or leads? And I would have to, as a user, go back and click and clarify which one I meant. But now, with page context support, Copilot is going to be able to reason through and understand I'm on this account page and to pass that record ID and then be able to give me a summary without asking for additional clarification. And voila, I now have this nice summary with links out to this page if I need it and reach out to that owner, Angela Lee, in case I have any questions. And what's really powerful for you as a developer, again, is that this page context will automatically be passed to your custom actions, so you won't have to build that in, and it's going to make the experience for your users even better and the results even more accurate. All right, and now to our final topic, Copilot topic support. So here I am in the Copilot builder, and with this Copilot, it's really tasked with understanding restaurant reservations. So as you can see here, I already have a few topics that are related to this builder. And as you'll notice, they're all assigned to, they all tackle a specific job that needs to be done. So in this case, we have how to handle escalations, how to deal with existing reservations. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to create a new topic that relates to answering frequently asked questions. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the topic label, which I've labeled General FAQ, and describe what this topic should solve for, which is, in this case, answering questions about restaurant reservations, how someone could use their dining points, or anything related to our company. And then I want to define the scope. I want to make sure that Copilot only uses our internal knowledge articles to provide information to users. And then finally, I can set rules and guidelines for Copilot so it's always answering the questions in the way I want it. So for this case, I really want to make sure that Copilot is tailoring responses based on specific user queries or their account details if they have provided them, and then to never give troubleshooting steps. I only want it to answer questions. So let's go ahead and take it for a spin. I put in a question about how to activate dining rewards towards a reservation, which is a pretty common question I could expect for restaurant reservation software. So what Copilot is doing right now is kind of understanding the intent of the question and going and finding what's the right topic to answer this question. And voila, I see that it said, okay, this question is related to a pretty frequently asked question. Here are the instructions that I already got, and here's the action that is assigned that can answer this question directly. So in this case, it's answering questions with knowledge. And the LLM went through, executed that, and gave me this really robust response about how I can locate my dining points and activate them and apply them to my next restaurant reservation. So that's how you can use topics to guide your Copilot to answer questions and build actions towards any use case. So that was my last topic for the day. Jillian, what was your favorite Copilot topic that we covered today?
Well, I mean, I think it's amazing to just see how easy it is to really set those parameters to help guide your Copilot, really customize that experience for your users. I mean, I can do that.
I mean, yeah, anyone could do it. I wish it would do things like teach my toddler to eat whatever they want.
You figure that out, you let me know, because I have the same problem.
Yeah.
More than mac and cheese, please.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have a lot of great questions coming in. As a reminder, everyone tuning in, please ask your questions in the chat on Salesforce Plus, because now we've got our full lineup of all of our developer advocates and product managers here to answer your questions. So, Angela, we're going to come to you because there's some topical questions coming your way. So the first one is about topics. So how do you think about using topics versus actions?
It's a great question. So the way I think about topics is to really be focused on your job to be done. So think about that one specific task that you want to do. So and what we showed was answering an FAQ, answering frequently asked questions. And actions are what the action is going to take, what the Copilot action is going to take in order to fulfill that request. So the one thing is to keep in mind is that actions can be assigned to multiple different topics. So we know that across different topics, you might need to look up a record ID or identify related lists or things like that. So think of it as actions can cross multiple different topics, but topics should be discrete enough so that's solving a specific use case.
I like that. Thank you for clarifying. It helps understand, like, okay, which use case do I use which thing? That's very helpful. Okay, another question for you. Let's talk about how you, again, talking about like appropriate use cases for appropriate technology. How do you think you would use each tech in custom actions? Prompt Builder versus Flow versus Apex?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, it's great that we have an Apex expert and Data Cloud and Prompt Builder here. So I really think it depends on what your specific use case is, or also where your data lives. So Apex is great if you need to go externally, pull data from different sources. And then Prompt Templates or Prompt Builder is great because you can really define how you want the prompt to be answered, and you can design around your specific use cases. So, really think about where everything in your system lives, and what makes the most sense. And the last thing I would say about the great thing about Copilot is that we know that developers already have a lot of things in flows, in prompt templates, or in Apex, and so you can repackage a lot of those things and build custom actions with them without a lot of rework.
That's great. And again, like that's kind of like the big overall value prop of the platform, right? Is you've got all of these different tools to accomplish these great efficiencies and different types of, you can help make your users more efficient. But there's multiple ways to build them, so you can really be creative in figuring out which one is the right one to use for which task. Okay, coming back to you, Angela. We got more questions. Talking again, kind of on topic. The same idea, when to use which thing. Let's talk about the difference between bots and copilots.
Oh, this is something I know I struggled with when I started as a PM on the Copilot team. I was like, what's the difference between Copilot and bots? And one way I think about it is with traditional chatbots, you're actually behind the scenes, you're spending a lot of time as a developer coding each of those ways that a conversation could go. So think about the last time maybe you talked to your cable company, right? Maybe you started with like a billing question and then they tried to make you upgrade. Well, someone had to go and code every single way that conversation could go. So with copilots and generative AI, it's a lot more natural. You just have the natural language processing, and it can reason through all of those different requests without additional coding.
So like you're setting up the overall strategy of the system versus figuring out all the different pathways and all the different possibilities that you need to like pre-code or prepare for, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's very helpful. I just learned something too. Okay, let's get to some of our questions here coming from Salesforce Plus. Now that we've got everybody on the I think it's like more than warm couch. It's like it goes from hot to like now everybody's in the hot state. Okay, Mo, this is actually coming to you. This is from Nelson on Salesforce Plus. With the new SOCL enhancement for Apex, are the current governor limits, 100,000 characters, 200 queries per batch, remaining unchanged?
Yeah, those are going to remain unchanged for sure. I mean, so that's why you need to be careful of what you are using there.
Yeah. So. Okay. Great, good to know. All right, let's keep going. Mo, I'm actually coming back to you. Let's talk a little bit about, again, kind of proper use case for a proper technology. So can we give a little bit of an example of a difference between Apex cursors use case versus batch Apex use case? We talked a little bit about this, but can you just kind of clarify?
Yeah, definitely. So batch Apex, as I said, let's use an analogy. Like, I love how Angela was using analogy, right? Think of batch Apex as a slow cooker, and queuable classes that we have as a microwave, right? So microwave can get things done very quickly, right? So but queuables don't have, until now you couldn't divide your large chunk of work into smaller. There was no way than doing it in batch classes. So if you have like a long process, which you're comfortable with having it execute in its own time, use batch Apex. That's the use case for it. But if you have something which you can think that the platform can process quickly, queuables are the way to go. And now with the cursors, we are giving you that power that batch Apex had, like ability to batch things up. We're making queuables equivalent to batches. So hopefully that clarified.
It really, the slow cooker versus the microwave, the analogy is very powerful. I love that. You can just zap it instead of waiting all day. So I love that. Okay, Luke, I'm going to come to you now. This is a question from Vamsi on Salesforce Plus. How should someone try to play around with Einstein Copilot, Prompt Builder, and Gen AI features?
How should someone try and play around with them? I would point you to Trailhead. We have a bunch of new modules there for Prompt Builder, for Copilot, for the entirety of our Gen AI platform. You can get a short-lived demo org to experiment with all these new functionalities, test out different use cases, build stuff yourself, see what works, see what doesn't, and then go iterate on it from there.
And and we would like to add on that. We have been running programs on all of these, especially developer advocacy team. So we have AI Now Tour, where we go to every city, organize these workshops, where we give free hands-on experience on all of this. They get an org for I think 5 days, Daniel. 5 days, where they can play with this tool. It's a workshop, guided workshop. And then there are a lot of virtual workshops that we are doing. Like we get on a live stream and we teach people how to work with these new technology. A lot of blog articles that come on our channel, YouTube. Of course, we post a lot of videos. So there are a lot of ways to learn. And I'd like to say that orgs are no more the constraint. Like one constraint that I used to hear from our developers was like, hey, how do I get an org with Einstein Copilot and Prompt Builder? With Trailhead, you get it right away, like 5 days org. But when you attend these workshops, we give you enough, we have enough orgs at least to go through all of these hands-on experiences. Yeah.
I believe we have a farm for orgs these days.
Yes. It's org farm.
Org farm.
I know. I think that's more inside baseball, but I thought it was fun to talk about. Okay, but to your point, it's great. It's an easy way to get hands-on. And so to that point, if you want to get access to these amazing workshops, these virtual events, developers.salesforce.com, one of my favorite websites. You can get everything there. So let's take a moment and kind of talk about more big picture. So you all showed a lot of innovation today, some amazing innovations, especially with Data Cloud. Danielle, you got me all excited. But in terms of just overall where this is going with Data Cloud, with AI, kind of, and the future of developing on Salesforce, I'd love to get some ideas from you about what are you most looking forward to, kind of just big picture down the line. Where do you see a lot of this going? What excites you the most about doing this work? Angela, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I know one of the things we hear a lot from customers and users, and it's also what I'm most excited about as well, because it's what I work on most of the time, is making Copilot more personalized and more proactive. And I know that is one of the things that we hear a lot from our customers, like, this is what we really needed to do. It's like, help us finish the work as if I had an assistant, like a true assistant that can delegate tasks to you, and it's automatically doing all those things. And I think where it's relevant for developers is that we know, as we said, you already have all the tools that are automating processes for you, whether they live in Flows or Apex or anywhere else. So we want to start providing a way for developers to utilize those things and make Copilot more proactive.
I love that. Yeah, again, making it easier to be a developer, essentially, right? Yeah. Luke, how about you?
Yeah. You've heard this like 1,000 times, but I'll say it again. Generative AI is only as good as the data that you give it, right? And it was on my slides, and I'll touch on it again. The idea of working with unstructured data as a grounding resource in your prompt templates, in Copilot, is going to unlock so many use cases across your org. You're at Slack, Jillian. You know all about the value of unstructured data, right?
I know. Well, actually, can you actually just explain it for maybe those of you who aren't, those of us watching? I mean, of course I know everything. But let's talk about what is just over, like, high picture.
Yeah.
overview picture, what is the difference between structured data and unstructured data?
Sure. So another analogy, structured data fits in a spreadsheet. Structured data has fields, right? That there's a key value relationship to structured data. Unstructured data, you don't necessarily know the format. There's no object model associated with the data coming in, right? And so you can think of this as, it often manifests as emails or Slack messages or meeting transcripts, right, at your organization. There's so much unstructured data that is so rich in the use cases that it enables.
You also get bonus points for mentioning Slack, so thank you. I appreciate that.
At least I can do. I love Slack.
We all do. It's my favorite now. Danielle, how about you? What are you most looking forward to in the future of developing on the platform?
One of the things that I really, really love is how easy it's getting for developers and how much less time it's taking to do things that used to take a really, really long time. Like just being able, from what I showed today, to be able to hook up to Heroku and get the data in as little as 5 minutes. You can do it with so many external systems now with Data Cloud. You can do it with Snowflake, BigQuery. I mean, and we are releasing connectors so fast, and it's just really, really growing, like how quickly you can get data into Data Cloud from so many different sources. So I'm excited for all the new connectors, especially the ones that everyone has been asking about, like the Redshift and everything. And I'm also really, really excited about sandboxes, of course. So everyone out there, yes, I am very excited about sandboxes. And also all the new AI functionality that's coming out for Data Cloud. So semantic search, the vector database, RAG, all of that, which can work with that structured and unstructured data that we were just talking about. So I'm just really, really excited about how the platform has grown and also just how fast it's all been happening.
I mean, what, a year and a half ago, we would never been knowing like half of the terms that we just talked about.
Exactly.
I mean, the last sentence that came out of your mouth, we would have been like, what?
Exactly.
What is that?
Exactly.
So it is amazing, the pace of innovation and just all of the things it's unlocking for folks. So thanks. All right, Mo, your turn.
Yeah, so I would definitely compliment what Danielle said. And this is one of the questions that I always think is like, okay, how is it changing, developers' life? Like, what is the future for us as developers who are like, hands-on, always on the keyboard? And now I see this generative AI generating all these keyboard, like all this code, automagically or automatically, whatever the term, right? But, I think about it, but the reality is, as a developer, I'm really excited about all these changes. The reason is, productivity gain. It's making me so much productivity. Like myself, I have just transformed. I mean, if I look back how I used to work like a year ago and now, I think I've transformed my developer workflow. And I can tell more like, I use all these tools, for building some of these demos as well. Transparently, I use, Einstein for developers to get all these code snippets. It's just making me more productive, and that doesn't mean that I'm having less work to do. I mean, that's one of.
I know you're still working very hard.
Still doing this stuff, but I'm more productive. I'm more productive, and I'm happy to delegate, work that I think, AI can do it for me. I'm happy to delegate it too, because it used to be boring. Like, even typing code is to be it is a, laborious task. I know sometimes I'm like, okay, I know this thing, I have this thing, I know how this is supposed to work, but I still have to get onto my keyboard and keep typing this, So that's the change that I have. Is like, okay, I know the thing, I can talk to someone, and it will give me the code. Now, accuracy, okay, it might not be like 100% accurate, maybe it's 50% accurate, but then at that point, I can use my intelligence there, and that's where I think as a humans, as a developers, we are still valuable, in my opinion, personally, I don't think there is any question on the value, that we bring to the table as developers. So I just have to keep refining that, and sometimes it's like, okay, you can't do this better than me, let me just take over it and do the stuff.
Well, it's like, you are an artist, right? And instead of having to make all the individual paint colors, you have somebody providing that for you. So you can just go ahead and create your amazing creation.
Absolutely.
So that's wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for being here. There were a ton of questions in the chat. If we did not get to your question, please make sure you ask it in the Trailblazer community. We've got experts standing by there to make sure you get them answered. And really, thank you all for being here and sharing all this innovation. You got real deep into some amazing new things that developers can get hands-on with and really kind of change the game when it comes to developing on the platform.
There is one more thing I would like to add on is Dreamforce is coming.
What? What's that?
Yeah. And we have call for speakers.
Yes.
So we are definitely looking for speakers, and there is call for speakers. So please, make sure that if you are interested in, or if you are coming to Dreamforce, you can be better speaking on stage.
Yeah.
So we have all that information on our developer blog. So we're definitely looking for speaker submissions. So I'm really excited to see.
I believe that closes soon, right? June 6th?
June 6th, yeah.
Yeah, so get those ideas together, get those submissions in. Again, developer.salesforce.com is a great place to go. You get all the information you need to submit for Dreamforce. And even if you don't want to submit, come join us. It's an amazing chance to get hands-on with all the technology and really get that learning experience from our amazing experts. So I'll see you all at Dreamforce. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Again, we've got some amazing resources for you as developers. Make sure you check out the Salesforce Developers Guide to the Summer 24 release by scanning the QR code you see right here on the screen. And you're going to find more highlights on the latest features and functionality to help you succeed as a developer. Now, even though we're wrapping up this show, you can still ask your questions, like I said, in the Trailblazer community. We'll make sure you get an expert answer. And you know what? There's still more Release Readiness Live to come. Up next at 11 a.m. Pacific, we have CRM Analytics. And then tomorrow, we've got 2 more shows with Service and Admin Preview. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time in the cloud.